The humming starts at 2037 a.m. every night. At first I thought it was appliances, the fridge winding down, the old pipes in the walls. But appliances don't harmonize. They don't change key. The air smells like rosemary afterward. My wife kept rosemary in the window above the sink. She'd brush her hands over the leaves while washing dishes. The plant died 2 weeks after her. The cat stares at the kitchen doorway before the humming starts. Rigid. Ears back. He only looked like that once before, when we came home from the hospital, her purse still on the entry table. Last Tuesday, I poured a glass of water during the humming. Condensation slid down the sides. When the sound stopped, the glass was warm. I found a single basil leaf in the silverware drawer. Fresh. We never kept basil. She used to sneak it into our salads, laughing. Live a little. The wall beneath her rosemary plant is warped, the plaster swelling like a slow breath behind the paint. The super laughed when I called about rats. I count seconds under my breath. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Testing whether it'll obey the old storm rules. I've gotten to 38. The smell of rosemary coats my tongue. The cat's been under the bed since sunset. I keep the lights off. 2037. Count with me. 38. The hum rises, but tonight it's dissonant, a throatier vibration like wet wood straining. My palms stick to the kitchen counter. Hair counter! She'd wipe it 3 times after dinner, humming off-key. The light above the sink flickers. In the gaps of darkness, I swear the swollen wall shifts, a wet, papery sound like pages turning. The cat yowls from the bedroom, a low, throttled rage. Basil trembles on the windowsill. But the air is still. Ice climbs my ribs, thinking of her sprinkling herbs, the rustle of her apron. Stop it! The humming stutters. Between the notes, something scrapes, nails on porcelain, a dish being dragged slowly across the sink. The room's freezing now, condensation drips, vanishing before hitting tile. Elise? The hum stops. Silence carves into my ears. Behind me, the silverware drawer slides open. Forks and knives clatter like bones. The cat's scream splits the dark. Footsteps, bare soles on linoleum, uneven, left foot dragging just a little. Her knee never healed after the accident. The bulb explodes. Shards rain into the sink. 38, 38. Shaking. Rosemary floods my nostrils. The drawer slams shut. Under the shivering streetlight, the basil leaf is gone. A single sprig of rosemary rests in its place, roots dangling, fresh, damp, impossibly alive. The rosemary's roots twitch, moss green, hair thin alive. My breath mists in the frozen air. It twitches, again, coiling like a worm beckoning. The hallway light switches on with a click. But the bulb's been dead for weeks. Something cold laps at my ankles. Black, thick, now water. It soaks my socks, clings like syrup. The radiator groans. The sound twists into a gasp. Elisa's gasped, that wet rattle after the car hit. A shadow slicks across the ceiling, bulbous and slow, fingers splayed. Scratches bloom on the window-thin white lines, intersecting. Like a child's tally marks, the rosemary shudders, its roots threading through the cracks in the sill. Where's the cat? The floor creaks behind me, a weight shifting, left foot dragging. The drawer rattles, forks tremble. Someone's breath feathers the nape of my neck, warm, rancid sweet. The shadow drips from the ceiling, lands with a slap. When I turn, the kitchen's empty. But the water's still there. And the tally marks? They're pressed into my palms now, raised, itching. The whispering starts when I press my thumbs into the tally marks, trying to erase them. A murmur, low and dense, leaking from the radiator's rusted mouth. My left arm itches. When I roll up the sleeve, a vein pulses moss green. Under the skin, a leaf tip pricks through the wrist, tender as a splinter. Footsteps pad down the hall again, slow, uneven. Left foot dragging. Stop! I say, and the word splits into smoke, swirling toward the ceiling. A shape trills by the fridge. The cat? Its eyes are matte black, no iris, no pupil. Whiskers too long, quivering like antennae. Rancid warmth grazes my ear. When I reach back, my fingers sink into cold sponge. Fungus! A damp fist closes around my wrist. The tally marks prickle. Faint, in the kitchen window's reflection, numbers etched onto my eyelids. 3 vertical lines, a 4th slices diagonally. The rosemary bursts from my arm now, tendrils winding past the elbow, bark forming. The shadow drips again, splatters my cheek. It's learning my shape. The rosemary's roots snake deeper, each capillary thrumming with a wrong pulse. My breath hitches. It no longer smells like herbs. Decay, sweet and meaty, like fruit left to ferment in a closed fist. At the window, the shadow shivers. Not cast by anything, just theirs, pooling thicker where the streetlight should cut through. Its edges blur, testing the air, reaching. The tally on my eyelid throbs. 4 now. The radiator exhales syllables, not a language, a thick, wet garble, consonants like pebbles dropped in mud. I press my moss-veined hand over it. The metal breathes back. Floorboards groan. The cat's whiskers brush my ankle, and its purr is wrong, a low, rattling grind. When I flinch, it darts under the couch, dragging something limp and featherless. A sparrow? But the shape, too many joints, too many eyes. My shoulder blade splinters, bark erupts, crackling as it carves through skin. I clutch at it. My palm comes away veined with chlorophyll. The shadow drips closer. Coiling, patient, mimicking the curve of my hunched spine. I'm not ready, I think, and the room exhales mildew. Something scritches behind the wallpaper, mimicking my voice. Not ready, it rasps, peeling paint. The rosemary blooms, petals curl open, glistening wet. Each one holds a fleck of my reflection, fractured. In every shard, the shadow stands complete behind me, smiling without a mouth. 3 vertical lines, a 4th slices diagonally. The radiator heaves a final, damp sigh and falls still. My fingers sink into its ribs, rusted, cold. The tally burns. 4, a completed square, a key turning. Silence folds over the house like gauze. The shadow presses against my calves, vacuum warm, the pull before a collapse. Tendrils of mold braid through hair roots, stitching flesh to warped floorboards. Beneath the couch, the cat makes a sound like cracking marrow. The thing in its mouth unfurls, clicks toward me on hooked filaments. I shut my eyes. A hum rises from the rosemary, a choir of wet throats harmonizing in my marrow. Petals drip, my fingerprint blooms into 1,000 swirling replicas, each containing a shadow-fused doppelganger. Always here, the versions whisper, waiting for the house to make room. The 4th mark splits my eyelid open, sap, cloying in amber. My reflection wears the shadow like second skin. The house's warm breath grazes my neck. Rosemary roots cinch my sternum. Mine! Hisses the shadow through the cat's melted mouth. Human angles smooth into wall contours. I open my mouth to scream. Moss blooms outward instead, verdant and choking. The house swallows the vibration, converts terror into photosynthesis.